They said I would never walk again. The doctors, my family, even I believed them. But there was a promise I had to keep. And when you make a promise to someone who's dying, you move mountains. Or at least you learn to move your own legs. My name is Gabriel, and this isn't just another story of overcoming odds. It's about a promise that changed everything. At 19, I was invincible. At least that's what I thought. I practiced athletics, dreamed of the Olympics, had my whole life ahead of me. Until one December night, a drunk driver decided my dreams didn't matter. When I woke up 3 weeks later, the first thing I heard was, "I'm sorry, Gabriel. Your spinal cord has been severely damaged. You'll never walk again. Never again." 2 words that destroy an entire future. But this story didn't start in the hospital. It started 3 years earlier, when I met Mrs. Maria. Mrs. Maria was my neighbor. 78 years old, widowed, and the bravest person I'd ever met. When my parents traveled, she took care of me like I was her own grandson. She had a simple dream, to watch the sunrise from the top of Cross Hill in our town. But her legs could no longer handle the hike. "Gabriel," she told me one day, "when I'm no longer here, do you promise you'll go there for me? Promise you'll feel that wind on your face and remember me?" I promised. How do you deny something like that to someone who loves you unconditionally? Mrs. Maria passed away 2 months before my accident. And when I woke up in that hospital bed, paralyzed from the waist down, I remembered the promise. How was I going to get to Cross Hill if I couldn't even feel my own legs? The doctors were clear, "Accept your new reality, Gabriel. Focus on what you can still do." But I couldn't accept it. Not out of pride, not out of denial. Because of that promise, I started researching impossible cases. People who defied medical diagnoses. And I discovered something interesting: the human brain is much more adaptable than we imagine. I created my own rehabilitation routine. 4 hours a day of exercises that doctors said were useless. Electrical stimulation, mental visualization, resistance training. My family thought I had gone crazy. "Gabriel, you're wasting your time. Accept the wheelchair." But I had a promise to keep. After 8 months, the first miracle happened. I felt my left big toe move. Just a small movement, almost imperceptible. I cried for 2 hours. Not from sadness, but from pure hope. That small movement changed everything. If I could move one toe, maybe I could move more. 12 months, I could move both feet. 18 months, I felt tingling in my legs. 2 years, I managed to stand for 5 seconds. It wasn't easy. For every victory, there were 10 defeats. I fell more than I stood. My muscles screamed. My mind doubted. But every time I thought about giving up, I remembered Mrs. Maria's smile. I remembered the promise. In the 3rd year, I took my first steps. 3 meters with parallel bar support. They were the longest 3 meters of my life. My mother cried. My father, who never showed emotions, left the room so no one would see his tears. Cross Hill is 847 meters high. The trail is 3.2 kilometers of steep ascent. For a normal person, it's a 2-hour hike. I spent 6 months preparing. Short walks that became long ones. Climbs that tested every rebuilt muscle fiber. People ask me, why is this so important to you? How do you explain that some promises transcend logic? That some words spoken out of love become life missions? On the 5th anniversary of Mrs. Maria's death, I was ready. Or at least, I needed to be. 6 a.m. Temperature, 53 degrees Fahrenheit. My entire family was there. Friends who had doubted, doctors who said it was impossible, neighbors who followed my entire journey. The first 500 meters were smooth. My body responded well. At kilometer 1, the pain began. Muscles that weren't completely recovered protested. At kilometer 2, my legs started shaking. With each step, I felt like I might fall. Kilometer 2.5. I stopped. I sat on a rock and for a moment thought, maybe I can't do this. That's when I felt a gentle breeze on my face. And I swear I heard Mrs. Maria's voice, "Come on, my boy. We're almost there." I stood up. One step. Another step. One more. At 9:43 a.m., after 3 hours and 43 minutes, I reached the top of Cross Hill. The sun was rising exactly as Mrs. Maria had dreamed. Golden, majestic, painting the sky with colors that don't exist anywhere else in the world. I sat on the same rock where she always said she wanted to be. I closed my eyes. I felt the wind on my face. And I cried. I cried for her, for me, for the impossible journey that became possible. In that moment, I understood something profound. I didn't walk there despite the paralysis. I walked there because of it. The adversity wasn't my obstacle, it was my fuel. Today, 5 years later, I walk normally. Not perfectly, but I walk. Doctors call it exceptional recovery. I call it the power of promises. I created an institute to help people with spinal cord injuries. We've already helped 300 people regain some movement. But the most important lesson isn't about medicine or physical therapy. It's about the power of promises made with love. I visit Mrs. Maria every week. I tell her about each person we help, each life we change. And I always end by saying, thank you for teaching me that some promises are stronger than any medical diagnosis. If you've made it this far, you understand something important. It's not about walking when everyone says it's impossible. It's about honoring the people we love. It's about transforming love into action, words into reality, promises into purpose. We all have a promise to keep. We all have a cross hill to climb. What's your promise? What mountain do you need to move? Share your story in the comments. You never know who needs to hear that impossible is just an opinion. And remember, when you make a promise born of love, the entire universe conspires to help you keep it.